many old friends, many associates, people that have had a great influence on my life. The General talked about me stamping DNA where I went. Believe me, I am the product of a lot of wonderful people. And if I had any success, it's because of them. Sir, thank you for being so gracious and letting us use your backyard out here for this retirement parade today, and your fine leadership, guidance, mentorship. It's meant so much to me. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. Ma'am, as well as your son is terrific. We've treasured every moment we had with him, so thank you so much. General Jackson, we've shared so many years together, and it's a treasure to have you here. General Spees, thank you for coming on down. It's wonderful again to see you. Again, you've given me terrific guidance and mentorship, and thank you so much for coming here today. Out here in the crowd, my fellow Marines, my peers, guys all the way from college, family members that have shaped me throughout my entire life, thank you for coming here. You know, that there's somebody that said it takes a village to make a kid. Well, for me, I guess I'm a problem kind of person. It took more than a village. It took an entire Marine Corps. It took half the U.S. government to try and figure out how to create me and get me to this point. And over the years, all of those influencers and shapers have been tremendous, and I can't tell you how much it meant. And it started with my parents. Career Marine, and my father giving me that model that I could try and follow. I'm not sure that I always wanted to be a Marine. I question myself sometimes, but they have pictures of me at the age of my youngest daughter strutting around in camouflage utility, so I guess there was a spark there somewhere. And honestly, sir, probably the best recruiter, if you ever wanted to have somebody give you the tips on how to be a recruiter, was my mom. You would not believe how many things she measured against being a Marine. Even before Marines don't do that became a cliche, my mom was measuring my performance against Marines don't do that, Chris. You better get yourself straight. Marines don't do the things that you're doing out there. And she guarded my activities by what my dad had said as the example, and this perfect model that was a U.S. Marine. My dad tried on his own behalf to convince me in a very gallant way that maybe I shouldn't go in the Marine Corps. I don't think because he didn't have faith on me, although that could have been it too. But because he was actually concerned about future and employment and all that, and was trying to give me, you know, maybe you ought to look at your options. And like any good young 18-year-old, I immediately dismissed that and went for the Marine Corps. And then later, as I was getting ready to select MOSs, he again went back and said, you know, I was an infantry officer, and really you don't get a lot of skill sets from that. Maybe you ought to think about flying planes, or maybe doing supply, or some kind of thing that you can turn into a job later. Immediately dismissed that. I was a smart ass on my MOS selection sheet at TBS that put infantry, 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 and to actually convince somebody to give it to me. And thank God they did, because I guess it was the only useful trade I could find. But that was my starting point. And then through the years, I had tremendous influence from folks in college. We were up until 1 o'clock in the morning, unfortunately, sharing those experiences with a great group of guys who came on in to see me here. My first commands, I've got a whole contingent here, I guess, from the USS Constellation, CV-64, that came in, to include the first sergeant, E.L. Thompson, that first shaped the young lieutenant and taught him his place in the world, and what the importance of senior staff NCOs were. Throughout the rest of my career, multiple units that I was able to serve with, back in Charlie 1-3 and Weapons 1-3, great faces in the crowd there. Recent experiences in 1-7, experiences out as an XO out at 3-1, all those faces have come back to help me celebrate, and I can't tell you how much of a treasure that is, all the way up to the present day with General Bailey. And what did you get in return? Well, hopefully I did get to help some people, and hopefully I did get to do some things and help folks out. But let me tell you from my perspective, and particularly for those that are not Marines and are kind of wondering what this organization is about and what it looks like. Being a Marine leader means having the best seat in town. It means being able to see Marines at their best all the time. The General talked about it, that leadership opportunity. But it means that the treasure of being able to see this thing we call the United States Marine at its best when we are at in the worst possible environments, to include combat, to include those rainy, lousy days, those snowbanks, those days when chow's not coming, when mail didn't show up, and see Marines overcome obstacles that people couldn't have imagined. That was the treasure that I got out of 30 years, and being able to do it over and over again. I am a 4-year guy. I am a guy who came in just to check it out, see if I could follow in my dad's footsteps for a few years, and then go do something else. And I got addicted fast, and I could never lose it. And I had no idea I'd get 20 years, let alone 30 years. But the good things kept coming. And the good things came in the faces that you see here, and many other faces that aren't here, that sustained me over those years. Those young Marines that pulled me through, and those chaplains and those corpsmen that were at my side, to include one that I married, a lovely Ava Salerno, that is now Ava Conlin. Those were the people that sustained me and kept me on through. And thank God that you were able to do that. And then the opportunity to try and do something to hopefully help those people. Some way, some shape, either by giving them a tip, a piece of guidance, maybe trying to help them out on something. That was the addiction, that perhaps I could try and take care of. And I can't tell you how much that has meant. As a young lieutenant, I remember going in to my dad and complaining about, am I ever going to see action? Am I ever going to do anything? And reading all the great books, all the Webb Griffin books about, people doing daring do, and reading William Manchester, Goodbye Darkness, and Sledge with the 1st Marine Division, and wondering, am I ever going to do anything like that, as I stood there with a slick pocket, not one award, and just wondering what this is all going to turn out to be. And you know what? I can honestly say, there's not a Tom Clancy novel, there's not a book written that I didn't get a chance to either do or get close to that kind of action. And that was all because of, again, people like you allowing me to do that sort of thing. I've really had the chance to see the world. I've had a chance to do all those crazy things that I wanted to do when I first came in the Marine Corps that I never had any idea I'd be able to do. And that's, again, because of a wonderful opportunity that I was given by coming in the Corps, and then the sustainment that all of you gave to me over that time. So I can't tell you how much this means to me. I have to have a very special thanks for my family. They came into this game late. They came into Ava found me as a confirmed bachelor at the age of 38, a guy who had pretty much become fully addicted, a guy who was kind of a warrior monk who really only cared about doing his Marine operations, as hard as that may seem, and then having several beers on the weekend. And she was able to take that and tame it and turn it into somebody who became a useful husband, friend, and perhaps has some sort of redeeming value in retirement. We'll see. I don't know. But thank you so much for all of that. And then what the product of that is 3 beautiful children. And I see in them just a wonderful future. I don't know, sir, if they're going to go in Marines. She wants to be a grunt. So she's already had a tremendous influence. So we'll see if she can change the rules and become an infantry guy at some point. But they are wonderful. They're magic, and thank you for bringing that to me, because I had no idea what I was missing out on. For everybody that came, our bond is forever, and I mean that. And those of you that have known me since the early days, maybe you understand what I mean. I don't have my greatest fault is I'm the world's worst guy at names. And Ava knows that all the time. I'm a hey, hi, you, everything. But believe me, every face, every memory, every moment of my participation or anything with anybody is locked in there. It is locked in my mind, and I tell you, anything anybody needs, I will do it for you. Because that's how much it means to me for having been given this opportunity and this chance to do something for our nation and for our Corps. Thank you again. Thank you for coming here. Please enjoy yourselves. We have a very large feast. Ava doesn't believe in doing anything small when it comes to feeding people and taking care of them. So please participate out there. Somebody's supposed to ask me right now, hey, you just spent 30 years in the Corps, where are you going to go? Disneyland. So if you're looking for me after this, I'm off to Disneyland tonight, okay? Thanks again. Really appreciate it. And Semper Fi.